这样。
Now it's the time for questions. I'll pass this microphone around, so whoever has a question can have the microphone.
老师好，就是我想问那个默照里面那个还有6个层次，然后最开始就是那个冷锁的问题，最开始我们是观身，然后观呼吸，然后身跟呼吸都是锁，然后是不是到了观全身的时候，那个能跟锁就在一起了？然后是不是从啊、能开始，然后到能锁在一起，然后最后就能跟锁都不见了？呃，就是 during the 6 stages of silent illumination, each stage we have different status of 能跟锁怎么讲？subject and object. I believe in the very beginning we focus on the object, and like in the middle of the process, the subject and object come together. But probably at the end, the subject and object disappear. Is that right? I just want to confirm with.
我知道，我知道。对，他要切的没有错，你要切的嘛，对不对？
只讲了3个嘛？
对对对对对，好，好，赶紧你拿着好了。第一个跟第二个，其实第一个、第二个都有能跟手，不是只有手而已，有能跟手。那第三个是要跳开能手。
So previously we have talked about the 6 stages of practice in silent illumination. For the first and second stage, there is a dualism of subject and object. Whereas when progressing into the third stage, we have to get out of this dualism of subject and object.
哎，大概所有的方法，就是说我们一般人都是能手的啊，然后我们的一般人的能手是散乱在不同对象的能手，然后第一个跟第二个是把就是散乱在就散乱性的能手变成拉到身体的以身体为对象的能手。那第三个就跳开能手，第三个是要跳开能手，就是他不碰触任何，你不碰触任何对象，那就会应该讲说第三个就开始朝向于智慧的开发。那第一个、第二个是朝向于定的开发。
So for ordinary people in their common state of being, the um, they have a scattered mind that is projected onto different objects. So they have this dualism of subject and object, and they take a scattered range of objects. So for our first and second stage, we're bringing that scattered mind scattered objects to a single object, that is your body. And towards the third stage, we actually jump away from this dualism of subject and object altogether, and we make no contact with any object. This is to say that the third stage works towards the development of wisdom, whereas the first and second stage works towards the development of samadhi or concentration. 那话说我这儿有个问题，就是说，第三个，我们只练习了第三个stage 啊，我这边的感受，因为一二它是非常，就是 intuitive 的，好像随时都能把那个锁缘镜给拉回来，拉到呼吸上，拉到身体上。然后第三个，在练习的时候，我会感觉还是心里有个倾向，想要把它拉到一个更空白的这种地方。就我们说把那个锁源全部都抛下，但好像还是会想要回到一个更该怎么形容呢？更加 pure、更加unattached 的那种境界。就这种该怎么样真正把能源锁源全都放下？So my question, going off the previous question, was that during the third stage, what I realized is that I struggle to not going back to a meditation object, because for the first and second stage, you have a stable meditation object and that you can always bring your attention back to. Can be your breath, can be your body, something that is concrete and almost really palpable. There's always an anchorage where you can bring your attention back. But I think according to Fa Shi's teaching during the third stage, that anchorage actually disappear entirely. But still I have this tendency to sort of bring back my attention to a meditation object. So I want to ask more clarification on the practice of third stage specifically.
第三个有点是类似你要好像照顾一个婴儿哈，你们大家婴儿你只要没有注意他，他就这样摸一下，那边摸一下，有没有？我们婴儿有没有？你就是晃的话，这边摸一下，那边摸一下，那你就必须要看他，不准他摸任何东西，不准那一颗心去碰触任何东西。所以有时候这样照顾婴儿，那有时候也是叫做那个八爪鱼，对不对？你要把他那个爪全部，他一摸你把它剁掉，一摸就把它剁掉。
Fa Shi used an analogy of taking care of a baby to describe the practice of third stage silent illumination. Just like the baby when they have a careless parent, they grasp onto different things, they touch different things, they go everywhere. So the parent's job is to curb the baby from various actions. And it is the same for us practitioners during our practice of silent illumination. Third stage, just to repeat, third stage is observing, investigating totality. So in that stage, we are not allowing our mind to make contact with objects altogether, just like we're taking care of a baby. Or another analogy is an octopus with many tentacles stretching to different directions. And once we realize the tentacle is stretching, we quickly cut off that tentacle.
那我另外再比喻一下哈，有点像是我想每天每个人都会睡觉嘛，那睡觉大家的 要努力做的就是不看、不听、不想，对不对？不去感觉任何东西，才什么？才睡着嘛，对不对？它跟那个是有点类似，只差你不看、不听、不想，不去感觉身体，但是是清楚的。清楚你不看、不听、不去感觉身体，不去想什么东西，但是你是清楚的。我们不看不听就什么？就不清楚了。它是清楚的。
Another analogy is sleeping. So when we go to sleep, we don't look, nor hear, nor think, nor feel. It's like the practice of investigation of totality can be compared to the state of sleeping, where we do not hear, look, etc. The difference with the meditation state is that during our investigation of totality, we are aware of it. We are clear that we're not making contacts. We're not look, hear, etc. And to sleep is to sleep.
不清楚啊，他进入那种状态，他就不清楚，但是睡，但他就清楚。
So when you sleep, you're unclear of your mind state, whereas in the practice, you are clear of your mind state.
OK，刚才国兴法师讲到那个八爪鱼哈，就一个个断掉，就是念头来了就不要不要不要这样，是这样子吗？我刚刚这样讲，我这样形容对吗？你刚刚讲说一切都不听不问哈。好，那现在我想问说，你在实际做的时候，是不是几乎好像有一个动作？比如说你一个念头来了，你就要把它放掉，这样子哈。那是不是好像就是一个动作，来了就放掉，来了放掉。然后呢，今天国兴法师的，我不晓得你是这次讲还是上一次讲，就是第三个 stage，观全体是观身体的全体嘛？因为下一个是观环境，所以第三个是观身体的全体。我这个 note 可能是过去的哦，但是应该是观身体的全体，所以范围是在身体里，然后是不是好像有一个动作，那就是原则上就是练习舍，这样对吗？好，我先问到这里，好，我先翻自己翻 ，OK。So following the discussion here, I ask today, just now, Venerable described how when he is in the third stage, not thinking, not seeing, and all that, he used the octopus every time the legs spread out, you cut it off. That if there's actually, when you practice, there's an action of cutting off or letting go. And then during last morning, yesterday morning, his third stage is knowing the totality, but I'm not sure if it's this lecture or the lecture before that I know it's knowing the totality of the body, because the next step is knowing the totality of the environment. So it's really confined to our body only. He just earlier also said that we are scattered all over in our object. So we're actually reducing it to our body. So then when he says not to see, not to hear and all that, it's mainly our 6 organs. And then if there's actually a feeling of action that I'm letting go. So in a way, the third stage actually a practice of letting go. So that's my question.
没有错，但是英文的很养啊，let it go 可能是 let it be 可能更好。
那个翻译一下。So he said instead of saying let it go, he said it's better to say let it be. So in a way, to me, when he said that, I keep saying that I feel like there's action of letting go. So when he says let it be, it's a little less of an action, right? 就比较没有一个动作的感觉。就是放下的话，好像还有一个动作，但是这个英文的 let it be 的话，好像就不理它，就好像有点像不理它。So there's a difference between letting it go and letting it be. So Chinese we can also translate into two different words. Letting go is 放下 ，let it be is 不理它，就让它去。
我就是在练习这个 Let It Be 的时候，好像仍然画了一个能所之分，就是我们讲这里的时候，所就是我们让它存在、继续存在的那些 object，就念头啊、思绪、画面什么东西，它只要出现了 observe，然后就放下，然后但是仍然有一个东西，好像是一个更就是不受沾染的一个东西，再让它 be，就好像还是有一个 boundary。然后一边是那个 flowing thoughts，you know everything，然后另一方面是我们那个让它 be 的那个亲近的心。我在实修体验是这样，我先 translate 一下。So I had this still when practicing that letting it be, I still have this dichotomy between object and subject. In my perception, it's almost like there's a pure state of mind that is consciously letting the other side of flowing thoughts, images, letting those things be and continue their path and cycle of perishing and arising. So I still somehow I can sense a distinction between that sort of a state of purity and a state of turmoil.
这个 let it be 那你对你来讲，你可能要加个东西，我可能也没有要特别注意哪个地方的 let it be，没有要特别注意什么的 let it be。讲他的，我听着他的。就是说，你没有要特别注意哪里的 let it be。
So we're practicing let it be, but with no particularities, without giving particular attention to objects.
他怎么样让没有特别要注意哪里？
我想解释他的，就是对我也认我没有这个现象，可是我只想就我的了解，我觉得您的方式应该是，你觉得可能你真的有一个类似像自信清净圆明体在那边，要让你自己一直往那边走。可是问题，这个当你往那边走的时候呢，很多人因为有这个现象，他好像觉得说好像自己开悟了什么，所以他这个主要的问题 ，let it be 就是不要让你执着于我好像已经到了那个境界，我好像有那个 clarity 在那边，反而会锁住你。所以就是说要你告诉你自己说，当你有看到这种现象的时候，其实你已经在回归本心了，已经在回归本心。可是当你回归本心的时候，你很有可能，因为很多人就会觉得骄傲，我可以什么看到什么东西之类的。所以就是要让你自己不要被那个幻象所局限住，这是我的想法。
我想先回应，然后我再 translate。他在我这儿的体验是不是任何一种境界？我刚才用到可能更亲近的境界这种词语，我感受到的是，很简单，仍然我在做的是 let it be，或者是放手让其他的走，比如说看到有一个 object 过来，就慢慢把它放下，让它走完它的过程，但 我可能描述的那个东西，是在你一遍又一遍去放下，去让他走完他的过程的时候，然后后面显现出来那些东西，后面显现出来的那个东西，把所有的东西都放下之后，让他们走完他们的过程，后面显现出来那个东西。我其实中文都没太说明白，我觉得，嗯。Yeah.
Well, like I don't. It sounds like you guys are trying to clarify the discernment between let it be and let it go, right? Oh no, we're past that. My bad. My bad.
So Venerable is responding to Yichao's question, but he used the let it be, which I thought he was continuing my question, but Venerable said no, he's answering Yichao's question. And Yichao has already translated his own question, you heard. Then Yichao wanted to continue to describe, and Hui commented on Yichao's description. Then Yichao is trying to explain further because he thought that maybe Hui didn't really get what he's trying to say. But then when he explained further, and I asked him to translate, he says, we didn't even figure it out between ourselves exactly what it is. So don't know how to translate. So that's where the situation is. I think this might be a little bit involved. So maybe you can ask a Venerable, or let's do it this way. Let's open to other people's question, and then maybe you will gradually, because Venerable already answered your question. Just a let it be cannot be a specific object, right? So you can contemplate on that and see if you have a further question from there. And then we can open for other questions and then come back to do more. Yeah, or you can ask him a little later. Okay.
I was wondering whether it makes sense to think about in terms of the letting it be, and we're also looking at this through letting it be through the different sense perceptions. Can we think about it in terms of consciousness arising in a particular faculty? So a consciousness arising in the eye, reaching out to a particular object, a consciousness arising in the ear and reaching out to a particular sound. And it is those things that we are wanting to let be. We're wanting to let be the consciousness that is arising. You want to let that be such that it does not reach out, that you want that to be stable and non-abiding.
It's good. OK，我相信他的问题是，就 consciousness 应该放实比较好，实是意识是，就是这个是通过六根，然后这个向外延展的过程，然后我们说 let it be 的时候，说的是I'm confused.
Okay. So if I get clear, if I understand what Alan is trying to ask is instead of, because we're talking about the subject and object, and we try not to be tangled with objects. So what Alan is trying to say is when he used the word conscious arising, right? So our conscious arising in the eyes, we see things. So instead of seeing, you will you will 这个观呢怎么讲 ？You 我看啊 ，which word did you use？
Observe.
啊
Observe
？OK， 对
versus
对对，观哈。
see.
OK， so you will observe your seeing, you observe your hearing. Okay, so and then so if that is what you're trying to find out, if the venerable meant by let it be, am I OK？ 哎，我现在要翻成中文对不对？OK， 他就是在问是不是可以观能观呢？就是眼耳鼻舌身的能观。
这个我用那个谁的奢摩他，就是永嘉大师的奢摩他颂，奢摩他就是观，奢摩他萨玛达啊，还有一句啊，蛮不错的哈，可能讲座叫能观跟守观哈，他就以心观物啊，他是讲知啦哈，我们用心去知道物啊，也许你就是用眼睛看到色相，也是要以心之物，或者说用耳朵听到声音，也叫以心之物。哦，那个对象叫做物。哦，或者说你以心是知道你的感受，都叫以心之物。哦，就是有一个能知的心跟所知的物，叫以心之物。那物在，心也在啊。你们先换这样子。
法师 quoted a verse, a verse on samatha, written by Yongjia, Master Yongjia. And that verse says, we use our mind to know the object. For example, we use our eyes to see the forms. We use our ears to hear the sounds. But it is only through mind that we um, 一心之物。
它是知啊，知等于相当于观，心之物。
所以一心之物完了以后，没有物在心在。
不是他实际上他不是以心，他叫以知之物，知在物也在，他不是以心，他是以知之物。对。他心呐，以知之物啊。
以知之物。
这个希望能够他怎么
？So
it's an education.
Use the mind. So we use the mind to know with the mind, with the capital M. With the mind we understand, we know the object, and as long as the object is present, the mind is present, and vice versa.
讲知，因为等一下会以知知知。
这个知哈，在英文里面用大写这个 mind 就表示佛心啊、智慧一样，所以它是这样翻的。
对，没关系，那等一下你就知道哈。你还可能没关系，加通就好了。
翻成智慧。
哦，好，好，接下来就是前面一季嘛哈，第二季是以知知知，物离知还在。因为你不要就相当于叫做 去观能观的嘛啊。对对，已知之知啊，那就物就没了嘛啊，物就离开了，就物就没了，但是知还在。
If we use the wisdom to know this subject, that is the mind that which possess the ability to know. If we use the wisdom to understand, to investigate this mind, 后面就是什么物理 even without an object, the ability of knowing is still there. So I guess linking back to the section on Shurangama Sutra where the Buddha says, even though the sound disappears, your ability to hear still exists.
啊，还没有啊，还没有完呢，后面还一堆啊，后面一堆啊，啊，就是已知之知，那物就没了嘛，剩下知嘛。那若是已知之知的时候啊，就是什么？就是知没了以后，但是就有两个知啊，那就前知啊，隐后知，后知系前知。对，原文对。系前知。
前知隐后知，它就是已知之知是有两个知嘛，这个不是不，这个不是有。因为它前面这个已知之知，因为它前面的已知之知嘛，当它的已知之知，这个时候是有两个知嘛。一个是能知的知，有一个被知的知，所以能观变成所缘境。
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I got it. Okay. Yeah.
所以前知后知。It's all the things you know it. All the things you know it. 聊不起来啊。All the things you know it. All the things you know it. Shine of everything. But the sound comes with limited. The sound is your awareness. Your awareness is shining, everything. All the things. Once I open my eyes, I already begin to attack. That is the thing. The sound is shining and your awareness is there. You know everything. Of course, your tendency is there. Because once your mind begins to attack, then your wisdom is limited. So I think it can be wrong. But that is what I'm trying to struggle more than 10 years. Finish. 你自己翻成中文。I'm not sure I'm right or wrong.
Buddha.
Yeah.
We are all Buddha, no exception.
对，那个法师听得懂他的英文吗？他听不懂。
后面有几句听不懂。
自己翻，但是用麦克风啊，不然的话这边都是空白啊。
我不希望留下历史。
那你把那个麦克风还给法师啊？那有没有人能够把他的讲的翻过来，翻成中文，翻给法师听 ？Yeah, you have a question. We're trying to get her question.
我是说，就是说，在第三关的时候呢，就是不要
那师父法师说，我们不要去碰东西，任何一个东西碰无法太大，因为我周围都是，对不起，这都是。因为你一旦在抽象以后，你的思想就只有那个成为一个点或者一个片，你只有那么多。而这个阶段，我觉得啊，就是说让这个思想像太阳一样的全方位的在造，那个 awareness 那个觉知一直在这儿。其实这时候呢，你是用你的心在看你的心意，知。
Yeah, that actually I think links back to the verse that Fasha just quoted. So and tying back to Alan's question.
Okay, she would like her question answered, but Venerable said he will answer Wei Yan's question after he finishes Alan's question. So just wait until the Venerable finishes Alan's question, and then he will tell you if you're doing it right or wrong. Okay.
So yeah, I'm going back to Alan's question. Going back to the verse. So when we use the wisdom, the big mind, to understand our faculty of knowing, to investigate into our faculty of knowing, there are two. Yeah, so in the original text, it's literally to knowing, to well, I think that what if I understand, I think the gist of the verse is taking your subject as your meditation object. So subject here is your faculty of knowing, and you are investigating that. You are making that your meditation object, and
后知，前知我写了新草，前知引后知，后知
细前知，细前知。So the former knowing leads to the latter knowing, and the latter knowing is connected with is continued with the former knowing. Do you want to unpack the implication in that verse? Or?
Yeah, it's like, how do you know that I don't know that the fish isn't happy? Yeah.
那换了没有？
刚才这个段翻完了，你不
就是
是后面还有？
引前之后，
对，把它照原文翻好了。
都引了是吧？
对对对，来，那法师再继续。
那有前知啊，引后知。其实你引后知的时候，前知是灭了，对不对？那升起后知嘛，那这样子，那在等于是第一念引，第二念，对不对？那第一念灭了，对不对？ 那第二念就升起，那接下来你就第二念再去什么，再去看第三念，那第三念升起，第二念又消失，所以它这样子基本上是什么？这个是生灭的心，所以他们说只要知就好了。
So the verse, the former knowing leads to the latter knowing, and the latter knowing is continued with the former knowing. More explanation on that. So when the former knowing disappear, the latter knowing appear. That is to say, when the later. Okay, so former and later. That would be funny. Yeah.
I didn't know. I thought maybe.
Yeah, it's a verse. You know. Later. So former and later. That is to say, when the first thought disappear, the second thought appear. Kind of like the Neon Fan video we watched. And when the second thought appear, it looks at the third thought. Okay, when the third thought appear, the second thought disappear, and that's how that's what we described as a mind with arising and perishing.
好，这个他们大概用这个比较粗啊。那我现在要回它叫什么？
哦耶，
不需要一直。对，没有错。
不要只关门关。
只要知就好。就现在它是以门关去关门关的时候，还是有生灭，就是他这边讲的前知眼后知，对吧？那现在他的意思是说，最后一句他说，这些不要去关门关的事，只要知就好。因为放这个只要知就好。
Okay, so that first thought disappear, all that second thought appear, all that that is characterized as a mind with arising and perishing, and what we want to do in the third stage of silent illumination is not paying attention to. Yeah, not to worry about the perishing mind, right? Not to worry about the perishing mind. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so the third stage is do not use the subject as your object. Do not investigate the subject, just knowing.
好，那现在再来这个，应该这个到这边为止啊。现在我再讲比较另外一个啊。现在我们再来讲那一个，叫什么名字？韦燕现在用韦燕就是用楞严经来讲啊，楞严经讲的比较细啊。楞严经它会用6层、6根，或者说5层，它叫层根，那还有一根，还有更细的哈，它就是我们的妄念是一层包一层包一层的哈。那我用这个方式来解释。对，这个应该是这个应该是第6的实现的，就有观音的那个。没有第4件，第6了。对。
6层是 layer 的那个层还是
dust
的那个层 ？OK，因为刚才说妄念是一层包一层，那个是 layer 还是？
那是一层一层。
那个是 layer。OK。Oh yeah. So Shurangama Sutra speaks about the 6 dusts corresponding to 6 faculties. Or I think it also says 5 dusts and 5 faculties, excluding 意根, excluding consciousness, faculty of consciousness. And our deluded thoughts is multi-layered, with one layer on top of another layer.
那通常，我们的心会透过五根嘛，眼耳鼻舌身，那去看到色声香味触，对不对？这大部分人的经验嘛，对。
So examining our mind, the mind uses the 5 faculties, ear, nose, tongue, etc., to make contact with the 5 色身香味触法这个5成嘛，现在5成。
先分五根啊，再一根。
Right. So the 5 faculties making contact with the 5 dusts, with 5 different objects. That is form, sound, smell, taste, and touch.
好，那我们的经验呢？我们透过五根，比如看到韦焰菩萨，那韦焰菩萨是色尘嘛。我用眼睛看是看到韦焰菩萨的色相啊，就是色尘。然后用耳朵听到韦焰菩萨的声尘。然后通常我们看到以后，我会用一根的经验来判断他讲什么啊，这是韦焰以前看过的。那唯识叫做什么？叫做具意识。就是五根跟意识合在一起的，不是晚上的独头意识。跟五根结合在一起的意识。那如果是晚上没有五根，只是你梦境自己这边演来演去的，那就是独头，属于一根的，属于梦境，跟五根没有关系。
Okay. So in our experience, we use our 5 faculties to make contact with the 5 dusts and thereby understanding the world. So take Bodhisattva Wei-Cheng, for example. We use our eye to see the form dust, that is to see her form, her appearance, and we use our ear to hear the sound dust, and altogether we use our consciousness, faculty of consciousness, to make sense of the input of the other 5 faculties. In mind-only school, it's called the consciousness faculty in combination with 5 other faculties is called it's another term, 5 aggregated consciousness. Okay, and so in our dream, when the other 5 faculties are not functioning, we call it single out consciousness.
那我们平常就是他说禅修，先不用这个五根，那五根没有以后，接下来就是一根的东西也要处理哦。那一根处理，其实一根处理掉，就是晚上没有梦，还有一个更细的，你的想活命的那个什么，他们叫行印，很细的行印。
Okay, so in our meditation, we strive first to get rid of the participation of 5 faculties, and then we deal with our faculty of consciousness. And when we sleep at night and have no dreams, our faculty of consciousness, even without dreams, the faculty of consciousness is still functioning, and that is a very refined form of our aggregate of volition. And it is that a tenuous strain of volition aggregate that keeps ourselves alive and gives us the desire to live on.
那就有点像是像是人要死了他也没神识了但是他里面的呼吸心跳都还在，也就是说一个很维系的，让你的生命一直保持在一种活命的状态，那个部分还要去什么？还要去处理，我们一般叫做行印那如果你这个可以破这个行印，那你就出三界。不是破掉，不是看破。
破掉行印就出三界了。
对，就证阿罗汉了。
So I guess Fashi more on that tenuous aggregate of volition when a person is about to die, suppose in the medical ward, and they may already have lost their consciousness, but their heartbeat and breath is still ongoing. So this is where the refined aggregate of volition is keeping the person alive. And this form of refined volition is the last thing we need to deal with in our meditation. And once we have we have cut through this tenuous, this refined form of volition, then we exit the 3 realms and obtain the stage of arhat.
所谓断掉，其实从禅宗从楞严经来讲，其实就是阿罗汉他们叫做断掉再生的力量，再生的力量阿罗汉说什么？声音就再生的原因再生的原因已经断了所以他就能够什么声音已尽，什么唤醒已令，所作皆办，不受后，所以他是断再生的力量，所以他就入涅盘就离开三界就断掉再生的原因那南传是这么讲的
那个 verse. Oh, okay. So according to Shurangama Sutra, our hearts are the ones that has cut off the force of rebirth. They've cut off the reason of samsara, of rebirth, and that is where they enter nirvana and exit the 3 realms.
所以这一个当然说断掉再生的，再生是什么？我们知道是再生。那其实从昨天有讲，好像昨天有没有后念缘前就是再生的原因。昨天没特别讲，昨天那个有没有法法不相知有没有？我说后念缘前念，你要断掉现前这一念去回应前念，就断掉。它主要是大方向是这样子，后念去缘前念，或是后念去回应前念。 那就产生有能所。
And what essentially caused the rebirth that generates the force of continuous rebirth is precisely the later thought continued, the later thought connecting to the former thought. That is the essential reason that give rise to rebirth. And if we can cut off the connection between former and later thoughts, we dissolve the dualism of subject and object. Yeah, I think.
不是断掉后念跟前念，而是你想回应已经消失的前念，那你现前这一念就会变成后念。你现前这一念回应前念，那前念，或者说前念已经消失了，那你这一念再回应它，那这一个能所就相续。
So Pasha clarifies that it is not actually cutting off the connection between the former thought and the later thought. It is that we cease to respond to our former thought with our later thought. And if we do that using our later thought responding to the former thought, that creates the dualism of subject and object.
不应该讲说断掉前念，是前念已经没有了，前念变成这一念，并不是断掉，是前念已经没了，但是你觉得它还在，那你再回应前念，那这样就是什么？前念已经消失了，你觉得还在，那本来每一念都是心，那你觉得还在，就变成物，就变成所，所就是已经消失的能。
这个讲得真好。Okay, now I'm a fan of Guo-Xing Fashi.
You said now you're a fan.
Yeah.
Took you this long?
Yeah. Wait, let me try. So more on that. So again, it's not cutting off the former thought. There's nothing wrong with the former thought. It is what is at stake here is our later thought trying to respond to the former thought, and each thought, each continuous generating thought represent our mind, and if we are responding to the already disappeared former thought, and we don't take it as already non-existent, we take it as if it is still there, and we're doing this response, then we are treating that former thought as an object. So every new thought, every generating thought is an element of mind, is our mind. But if we're doing this response, then we create this dualism of mind and object, subject and object dualism. So, and yeah, so object is the disappeared subject. So object is the disappeared subject.
不是 observe former， 是你觉得现前这一念，你觉得前面那一念还在，然后你去什么？你去回应他，前面已经消失，你觉得他还在，那你去回应他，或者你感觉他还在，
Okay, so he's giving a little bit more clarification when we said that when your formal thought disappeared and you're using your formal thought to
你不是 use homo thought，
我知道，我会讲解你。So when I describe it that way, he said, that's why it's erroneous, because we think the formal thought, which disappeared, is still there. That's why we're using it as an object for our subject. Does that make sense? Because, okay, if I describe it, we're using our subject as an object to observe, like you're saying, your conscious arise. So he's saying it is because we think the formal thought is still there. Actually, it's already perished. Because we think it's still there, therefore we're using it as an object. You get it? Okay. 好，那我想要用中文去看我解释的对不对啊？就是你认为前一念还在，所以你才会去圆它。然后前一念是你的所缘，是因为你觉得它还在，那事实上是没有的，所以你就知就好，所以就只有你的能源在那里，但是你不把它拿来当所缘，这样对吗？好，
出了可以了。
Okay, so roughly that's about the right answer. So we'll see if there's further refinement.
还没有，里面还一堆啊。就是再生啊，就大原则禅宗的大原则，就是说你一直在什么眼前念嘛，所以我们要什么？你不要碰触任何东西，就是要断掉那种能手，因为只要你觉得你要看，本来没有能手的，我们从来都没有能手的心，就会因为你用现前这一念去回应已经消失的前念，那我们把它叫做现前这一念叫做能，前念消失了，前念本来是能，但是消失了就变成你现前这一念的手，要么清楚，全部都是能，全部都是心，对。
I think it's more or less just a repeat of what Fasha just said and various clarifications. So the principle of rebirth, the reason for rebirth, according to Chan, is that we try to continue the previous thought, right? We use, we make contact with our previous thought, even though it has already perished. And if our true mind is devoid of subject and object, and I think the concluding phrase Fasher gave was that everything is subject and everything is mind. Yeah. So I think right. So if you make no contact, then there won't be any object, only subject.
可能又要回到，就是《楞严经》，就是说真心啊、哦，我们的真心为什么创造出？楞严经如果是讲的话，真心创造出虚空世界众生业果，那它的一个主要的，就是你认为你的心要去感知一个东西，就这样子而已。那就你认为你要制造个东西，你这样的你就制造个什么已经消失的前念，就变成什么？变成能知所知，永远是什么一念而已。但是你想要知道一个对象是你自己的， 自己就是那一念就是什么，就是就是我们叫做暗动，或是叫做不觉，一念不觉，或是一念暗动，或就是一念迷惑。那你讲说一念迷惑，你认为我的心必须要感知才有感知功能，就这一念就产生能所，那从此以后就剃掉了，就是就依真起妄，那就变成无名能所虚空世界众生业果，记得起来吗？这样啊，无名能所虚空世界众生业果。我讲多。
I can translate it. Then go to the rest.
He's going to the bathroom while he's translating.
I'm imitating Fashu.
No imitation, you are master.
Okay, let's do this. So Suragama Sutra explains how our true mind that is already clear and pure created ignorance, our phenomenal world, all the sentient beings, and all the karma. And he explains this by saying that it is because it's because of one thought of deluded mind. So one deluded thought lead to all the creations of phenomena and karma. And that deluded thought is the desire to know, the desire, the idea that there's something to be known. So, right, that creates the dualism. And that deluded thoughts thinks that that the ability to perceive must be I'm sorry, let's rephrase this. That there is something to be perceived. That is the prerequisite for ability to perceive. So this deluded thought thinks that I have to have this object to perceive in order for me to have this ability to perceive. And in Suragama Sutra, it says, and so this is the way out of this, right? 暗动不觉都是暗动不觉就是
你说一念无明，好像他最早说，你以为我应该要感知，我应该要感知一个对象，其实他的灯，他不需要感知，但是你以为我要感知一个对象，那这样叫无明，叫做暗动，叫做不觉。没有，它是一样，不同的解释啊。有人讲一念暗动，或一念不觉，一念妄动，他们有好几个啦。
So
我看到的是妄动、暗动、不觉，黑暗的暗呢、
So
黑暗的暗呢、
Fashu is giving more name to this deluded thought. So we actually have names according to the sutra for this beginning deluded thought. It can be called as the dark motion, and it can be called as non-aware, and can also be called as deluded awareness. And it is precisely because of this one thought of deluded awareness that leads to, again, the karma, our phenomenal world, ignorance, the dualism between subject and object and all sentient beings.
讲很有的英文也不是很好，就是所有刚刚那一些暗动、不觉，还有什么妄动，或是无明，其实都是来自于你的心 一直处在他们叫做什么？叫做自明，有个人叫做自明，他本身就灯本身自己就可以明，他一直在这样状态，自己明，不需要我去明一个对象。那你以为我要明一个对象来证明我能够明？就说你要让人家觉得你很厉害，那那你就变成无名。你也可以讲做头上安头，就是这样子以后，从此，好像，就变成有能手，其实从来没有能手，因为什么？从来都是当下只有一念而已，就像霓虹扇，有没有？从头到尾就只有那一个，我们有一个什么？有一根香嘛，从头到尾就只有那一根香，没有圆圈的。等一下。
So, so more on that deluded thought. It is that deluded thought is generated because it doesn't realize self-illumination, that the illumination that do not rely on an object to illuminate. It doesn't have to rely on any object to prove to itself that it has illumination. And it is because of the deluded thoughts external search for a counterpart to prove that itself exists. So that search for counterpart to verify its own existence that leads to all the phenomenon and ignorance. This can be compared to a Chan Kongan that is putting a head on top of a head, which is unnecessary. Putting a head on top of a head and leads to the dualism between subject and object. We should realize that from the very beginning, there has always only always been only one thought at present moment, only one thought. Just like the analogy of neon fan, from the beginning to the end of its rotation and its manifestation of the clock, there has never been a clock. It's only a neon light on the fan. Okay, nice back.
接下来，我先请问国兴法师，你解释完了吗？可以让下面的人问问题了吗？还是这个还没有解释完？
最后一个就是一个大内，那这一个部分形成的无明世界、虚空世界、众生业果。那当我们叫返妄归真，用禅修的方法，要让能所消除的时候，其实是一段一段一段的先比如说断五层，不碰五层，不碰里面的东西，不碰一根的法层。但是一根的法层其实里面有更细的法层嘛，一根我们统挂在法层，可是一根也有什么？我刚才不是讲嘛 ，the volition 就是你自己你都没有妄念的，你已经昏迷了，可是里面还是什么？还是有那个维系的什么运作，就有点像是车子已经不加油，里面那个什么，还有那一个什么 slow 那个什么叫怠速，它还是怠速，车子还是处在一种运作的状态。返妄归真，返妄归真。
So the practice of Chan aims at returning from the deluded to the true, and to dissolve all dualisms of subject and object. And it also stressed that we can only do this step by step. At first, we avoid contact with the 5 dusts, and then through our progress in practice, we avoid contacting the dust of Dharma, that is the dust of phenomenon. We avoid contact between that dust and our faculty of consciousness. So we're heading from a coarser realm to a more refined realm. And it can get very refined, as we have spoke of the tenuous grasp of aggregate of volition. Even though you're in a deep state of coma, that aggregate of volition is still functioning, so it can get very refined. Yeah, I think.
所以我们在禅修，如果大方向的讲，我禅修的话，身心合一以后，他们有个叫做什么？他们有好几种讲法，叫做什么？言语道断，心行触灭，这是第一种哦。言语道断，心行触灭。另外一个就是什么？叫做大地落成，因为还有一个虚空粉碎。大地落成就是你乃至于所有的外在的，当然第一个是身体不见的，第二个是外在的这些世界也不见了，最后还有一个虚空要碎掉。因为那眼睛就是你先产生虚空，才有陆陆续续的什么世界众生业果。
怎么写？但是我不知道英文翻译。So in the general direction given by Chan school with regard to meditation is to achieve a stage where body and mind unite. And this stage is described by 2 verses. The first verse captures the stage of disappearance of body, and it reads, so this stage is characterized as where language and vocabulary cease to be, and the movements of mind and volition and the activity of mind also terminates, come to an end. So that describes the dissolution of body. And the second verse is yes, not it describes a state of awakening, and it reads, the land falling, the land rupture entirely, and sinks down, and the empty spaces shatter. And so this verse describes the disappearance, the dissolution of external environments and phenomenal world.
所以就是说，韦愿菩萨讲的就是说，你知道，那你表示知道，但是你包括这些全部的东西都要消失以后，才能够又回到什么？那应该算是用功的阶段，你要回到就是什么？你的心没有照任何地方，但是无所不照，有点像镜子。你从特写变成普照。
So, responding to Bodhisattva Wei Cheng's question, when you seek to know, you have to reach the stage where all has disappeared, that is where you can say that your heart has returned to a place, to a state of being, where it is not shining on any particular object, but it is like a mirror reflecting everything without distinction, so no particularity. And this is a transition from a particular to all-encompassing.
Okay, so we have one more question. So after that question, theoretically it's 4 o'clock and we are supposed to be in a sharing session, but if you guys prefer to still go the Q&A instead of sharing, that means we don't have a sharing session, just still continue Q&A. So I want to see if there's anyone in dire desire. What? Right. So we can, so unless somebody have a dire desire to share your experience, otherwise we're going to continue the Q&A. We have a half more hour. Okay. And then Guo-Xing, Venerable Guo-Xing, can you raise your hand, say how many more people have question? Then I know how short he needs to answer his question because he tends to give this long explanation. Then you guys are gonna not be able to ask all your questions. So can you raise your hand? How many more people have question? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, okay, so we have 4 and plus her. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, can you raise it one more time? 1, 2, Annie Jiang, right? 3 and then yours. So 4 questions. 还有谁？还有谁？就4个嘛啊，4. Okay, so we have 30 minutes. So Guo-Xing Fashi, you have 6 minutes to answer every question, and I'm gonna stop you when you speak more, because you have 6 minutes. You have 3 minutes to talk, and he has 3 minutes to translate. 啊，你去哪里？ Okay, then I have to translate. 3 minutes, so you talk each question 3 minutes. Okay, 先从他开始。wait.
法师介绍了3个方法嘛，那是我们就混搭着用吗？还是说每人最好找一个主要的？那so we have been introduced 3 masters this weekend, and my question to Faster is, should we use all the 3 masters combining, or should we pick one of the method that's like best fit for us? Like which way is the best one?
好，我自己因为我自己本来是想要用一个方法就参话头参个30年但是呢，当了法师以后，我们有默照，有话头，还有什么？还有念佛禅，所以我3个我都要学习那我们的经验是这样子师父在禅堂有2个主要法门，默照、话头就是师父的理想是整年都默照。就是一半是默照，就是半年是默照，半年是话头。但是，如果你是选择默照，那当我们话头期你这样听，但是你还是用默照。如果你是用话头，那你 因为整年也有末照期嘛，你还是听末照的开示，但是用的是话头。
Venerable said that he himself prefers to practice Huatou, but because he's a teacher, he has to be familiar with all the three methods. So, according to our master, Master Sheng Yan, he in the Chan Hall he teaches two main methods, which is Huatou and silent illumination, and we tend to hold each method for half year. So say silent illumination for half year, then Huatou is another half year. So during the first half year, when you are a practitioner of Huatou, coming to the silent illumination retreat, you can still use your Huatou to practice, although the retreat is teaching silent illumination.
现在多了一个练火禅呢，现在就练火禅先不讲哦。然后，如果你两个都熟悉都会用，像华子他们有时候是先用话头把妄念打死再来用末照。有时候他们是先用末照把妄念放掉，以后再用话头。他们是可以交叉使用，但是假设你不熟，你就应该先用一个方法。但是两个方法都很熟这是一种
If you are skilled in both methods, like the Dharma ayers, for example, they would use, some of them would use Huatou to exterminate all deluded thoughts before transitioning into Mo Zhao. And some of other ones would use Mo Zhao to let go all the deluded thoughts before using Huatou. But this is for the people who are skillful in both methods. If you are not, then pick one and stick with one may be better for you.
3分钟所以通常你可以比如说我是主修华佗，那副修末照你可以用这种方式，你专攻一个那其他有的话，我也去练看这样子。那先找出你的主修方法，其他是辅助方法。
Another way you can do is finding the main method that you will be using and use other methods as your complementary ones. So you can say I practice primarily Huatou method, but I use silent illumination as my complementary method.
Then you don't have any question then?
He has a question.
Oh, who's first?
Being a gentleman.
Who?
I had that question. Yeah, you had a question.
Thank you. 师父刚才说到的一个，我就觉得哇，那个很想知道，那个向死的时候，那个很细的那个东西还要活，你怎么断那个？很想知道。Oh, okay. So earlier Fashi said like even when a person is dying, they have this very thin, very fine sense of desire to continue to live. So I really, really want to know, how do you break that?
其实我刚才已经讲过了，无明就是你的心以为我要感知， 产生能所，其实就断这个而已。你想要感知，就产生再生。那你要把想感知有对象的知要停下来，那就可以断，就可以断外面的五层，断一根的什么法层，也可以断这个最维系的，让你生命相续的。像我们生命相续，我们想活命，为什么？因为我们认为身体是我，其实是你的，其实是你的佛性才是你。
So the reason we have ignorance is because our mind thinks that it needs an object to perceive, and that leads to the dualism between object and subject, and the rebirth and samsara. And as long as we stop that desire to have an object of knowing, then we'll be able to cut off the five dusts, and later to the Dharma dust, the dust of Dharma that corresponds to our faculty of consciousness. So, and all the way down, cutting down to the most refined form of aggregate of volition, which keeps us alive, subconsciously. The reason why that volition exists is because we take this body as our self, but in fact, the true self is your Buddha nature. That's cutting off our the desire to have object. We don't practice when we're about to die. We practice anytime, all the time.
好，我接着他刚才那位菩萨的问题就是我刚才一直想问，就是这个这什么一个那叫什么一念妄动啊，这个一念妄动之前它是叫什么？
我也可以翻译一下。So Fasher previously talked about that. You remember the beginning, deluded thought, the very beginning, that deluded thought. Prior to this deluded thought, what is prior to this deluded thought? Is that your question?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
一念妄动之前是佛性，然后有一天。楞严经有个比喻有一天有个不知道什么名字我也忘记了他有一天看镜子，他发觉他头不见了，他一直找头，其实他头没有失去这个妄动就是什么？因为你动了，你以为你头失去了，其实你从来没有失去，因为你动了以后，就是你的反正。妄动或是无明的本质，就是空性佛性，所以他很多人就讲说什么，无明之前没有了，因为只要有的话，就有什么，有什么第一因。
那就是我们说
先把这个翻译。我先做下笔记哦。无明前。So the answer to what goes before the first deluded thought is our Buddha nature. Our Buddha nature is prior to the deluded thought. And Shurangama Sutra has offered in a story where a man wakes up in the morning, looks himself in the mirror, and he couldn't see his head. So he began to search for his head, but in actuality, he didn't. He never lost his head. So that desire, that search for head, can be compared to our deluded activity. We thought our head is lost, but actually it is there. So that action, that action leads to the deluded thought. In essence, the the essence of ignorance is emptiness and nature and Buddha nature. And a lot of people say that there is nothing before the beginningless ignorance, because if there is something prior to ignorance, then that thing is the first cause. I think in the Aristotle.
那我再接着问一下，那么佛菩萨和阿罗汉他们的 Buddha nature 跟这个 Buddha nature 有什么不一样？因为他们是不退转的哦。
我们一样啊。
一样，那难道那就是说他们也是一个不稳定？
没有没有没有没有。
I was asking, so if this can happen to Buddha nature, so what difference is the Buddha and Bodhisattva and Arhat's Buddha nature to make them non-returnable?
哎，它这个很简单啊，就是我们也没有流转，我们没有流转呢，它可能有一个比喻了啊。举个例子，比如说我在这边地方，我一直转，对不对？就你就发觉这个房屋一直转，其实其他人看呢，房屋根本就没转嘛。但是你一直转，这个房屋就一直转。假如这个一直转叫做无明，当你不再继续转，你发现房屋本来就不转了啊。另外，当然还有一个比喻啦，比如说草绳，你把它当成蛇，这样跳来跳去，跳来跳去的，那它本来就是草绳嘛，但是你以为是蛇嘛？看有没有清楚？就说你其实我们从来没有流转过啊。他们叫，只要你认为身体四大的身体是我，那六层的这些妄念六层的这些色声香味触法是我的心。那连接经叫做虚受轮回，虚也不是死的哦，虚啊，就是其实就是你等于是根本就没有轮回嘛，但是你觉得有轮回啊。虚受，我们感受，等于是在你梦到你在轮回了，叫虚受轮回。
Just to repeat the question, the question I believe is on the difference between the Buddha nature of bodhisattvas, Buddha and arhats, and the bodhisattva of ordinary people like us. And Fashu explains that there has never been samsara to begin with, and he gives an example of suppose you are turning in circle in this room, and you see the walls as if the walls are also rotating around you, and you say, oh, the house must be spinning, but in actuality the house is not spinning. It is you that is spinning, and that spinning is ignorance. And if you stop the spinning, the house would stop rotating as well. Another analogy to be used is a person taking a string of grass as snake, and a grass rope, and the grass rope is not a snake, but it's mistakenly taken as a stake, just like we mistakenly take that there has been samsara. The reason why we're led into that mistake is because we think that the four elements is self. The four elements being water, earth, fire, and air. We take the combination of those four elements as self, and then if we do that, then we would think that the diluted thoughts composed of the six dusts are what make up our mind. So in 是圆觉经讲，圆觉经是什么 ？Complete. And according to Complete Enlightenment Sutra, the sentient beings are in samsara. 这个虚受轮回。
在做梦当中。
I'm mistaken, like falsely. 虚受轮回吗？ So yeah, they're falsely in samsara.
也就是说，开悟的人大家都开悟了啦，但是你就是一直后练引前练，所以你不觉得你开悟啊
？So we say that actually everyone is enlightened, but you have this later thought following the former thought. That's why you don't think you are enlightened.
Master said earlier that after death, we're totally lost. And by reciting Buddha, we stay concentrated so that we can find our way. My question is, at the point of death, like the moment we're about to die, should we be going back to ask the second layer of where we ask Kwato who is reciting the Buddha's name so that we connect to our true self in that moment, so that when this is gone and we're just out there, we're not lost, so that we can grab another puppet?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the last part. Grabbing another
puppet. If we are a puppet, remember he described the hand, and that we are the hand that controls the puppet. But Master also said that an enlightened mind who becomes a master of his mind can reach into any puppet. So when this one is dying, by reciting Buddha and asking who recites Buddha's name, do we retain our hands so we're not lost, so that we can go grab another puppet, or are we just lost?
Yeah. So you can, okay. 法师他的问题是，就在临死的那一刻，如果我们念佛，然后或者是用话头问话头的方式，我们会不会就是能有这个选择流转的权利能力？
先从做梦开始练习。你在梦中看你有没有办法，梦中是8个小时的死亡。晚上做梦哦，其实假如你第二天没有醒来，就是死掉了。所以你在做梦，你看看有没有办法，我参话头。
法师 says start practicing with your dreams. So dreams can be defined as, can be seen as an 8-hour of death. So if you don't wake up in the morning, then you're dead. So start with your dream and see if you can practice Huatou, or reciting the Buddha's name, I suppose, in your dream. You don't have to, I think.
Reciting Amitabha's name?
Yeah,
it sends you to the Pure Land once. Okay, so should we try to, before we die, become in a state of enlightenment, so and recite so that we're not lost?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. I think 就是说，我们比如说念佛啊，在生前就要多念，这样死的时候那一刻就不会忘失啊。对。
这边讲个让那个让净土宗有点失望的故事哈。就是我们一个住在 New Jersey 的一个菩萨，他念佛，那他也禅坐啊。有一天回台湾，进医院啊，那医生本来是小病，结果医生说病危通知，病危，那他就把后事交代以后，想说，禅修没把握嘛，他说没把握，那练个佛十念就可以什么往生西方。他是清醒的，当他要念佛的时候，花解一套佛号想不出来，想好久好久好久都想不出来。他说怎么可能？我平常练佛会2个小时不知道参加了多少次啊。怎么想不出来？他就是想不出来。最后，终于想到了，想到“阿”，不是阿弥陀佛，是“阿”那个字，下面没了啊。那就很奇怪，怎么下面没了？再继续想，继续想，哦，想到咪，想到咪的时候，“哦”不见了。哇，他说：“哇，你以为失恋？他是清醒的哦。”但是我就解释啊，你之前练的佛都被其他妄念把它塞到塞到角落去了，找不到了。所以所以有时候要人家跟你助念，帮忙一下。
就他在病床上的时候。
病危通他还醒的
啊，还是醒的时候，就他念的时候想不起来后面那个字是什么。
他想要念阿弥陀佛嘛，因为阿弥陀经说你往生10念就可以了，念10句，阿弥陀佛念10次就可以往生。很简单嘛。
那想不起来阿弥陀佛。
对，就讲不出来，要想了好久终于想到啊。
OK。
阿弥陀佛没有出来，就在这样，没出来就啊。
OK，明白了。So, Fajr recounts a story that he thinks may disappoint Pure Land believers. To clarify, Pure Land is the belief that says if you recite the Buddha, you practice reciting Buddha in Buddha's name in your lifetime, and eventually you will be reborn in Western Pure Land after you die. So yeah, the gist of it. And this story has to do with a bodhisattva practicing in New Jersey, and is she or he? She, okay, and she practiced both reciting the Buddha's name and chant meditation. And near her death, when she's in the hospital, yeah, I'm sorry, going back to the patient. So she was in the hospital, and knowing that she's about to pass away, and thinking to herself, since I have only a few days left, I better practice reciting the Buddha's name instead of meditation, because the reciting method would help me to reborn in Western Pure Land. And also, in addition, according to Pure Land canon, before you die, that is at the moments right before your death, with only 10, you chant the Buddha's name for 10 times, you'll be able to be reborn in the Pure Land. So that's that. But when this person, this bodhisattva, is trying to recite the Buddha's name, she found herself incapable of remembering the first syllable of Amitofo, the one we just recited. And she thought to herself, this is really strange. I mean, throughout my life as a practitioner, I've always been practicing reciting the Buddha's name. I spent hours and hours on this practice, but how come I couldn't think of the first syllable now at this critical moment? And after some endeavor, she thought of the first syllable but she couldn't proceed with that first syllable. And still after, and she's in this state, she's still clear-minded. She's not in any type of coma. But so she tried very hard to recount the second syllable, which is me. But when she successfully did that, she lost the first syllable. And why is that? Why is this person having practiced in reciting the Buddha's name for her life, couldn't think of the critical phrase that near death? So Fa Shi said it is because when she was previously reciting the Buddha's name, the Buddha's name were actually driven to the corner by her deluded thoughts. That is, her mind, when reciting the Buddha's name, is still filled with deluded thoughts. So eventually she had to rely on other people reciting the Buddha's name for her, besides her.
So obviously Venerable went to the bathroom again. So the last person, which is Haojing, has a question. You can ask in English first without him, and then by the time you ask, he's back, and then you can use the Chinese. Would that be okay, Haojing?
Yeah. So
Okay.
this is like totally general. It's a question from my friend who is a Christian, and then he was asking like, so after learning some Buddha Dharma and having been practicing through meditation, and he feels like the Buddha Dharma is somewhat approachable and logical, but he still feels distant from like a little bit distant from the Dharma. And then he feels that his like inner self is not fully fulfilled. He still feels a sense of unsatisfaction, and how to cope with that. 中文就是法师刚才就是我用英文问了一遍，中文这个是就是我现在不在场的一个朋友，他是一个基督徒，他想问他学了这个佛法以后，他感觉就是很有道理，然后他也有打坐修行，但是他还是觉得就是说他和这个实际的这个佛法有距离，他觉得他的这个内心没有被填满，有一种空虚感，要怎么样面对这样的一种现象？
因为佛法浩瀚无比啊，你大概近未来记都写不完。佛曾经讲过说我们现在我们的佛经已经非常非常的多，但是他说他所讲的佛法相当于我们指甲里面的土，就指甲里面的那个什么，指甲里面就是层扣，他没有讲的是像大地图那么多这先知道那我们在学佛，其实通常你朝着第一个你也是观念上的，你观念上要了解；第二个，它是可以实践的那也就是原则上我们的似乎是讲说，你学佛最好是我为了实践而去理解佛法、研究佛法。 那有一些人研究，理解很多，但是实践一点点，这样的话，你会觉得跟你生命没关系。我先讲这边的，让他翻译啊。
Um, according to Fashi first said, Buddha Dharma is boundless, and it's impossible to write to complete writing all the Buddha Dharma even throughout eternity. And he cited from the Buddhist canon where the Buddha says, the Dharma that I have been preached, it can be compared with the dirt between my fingernails. And the Dharma that I have not been preached can be compared to all the earth, all this, the soil combined on earth. So for any person that aims to study Buddhism, to study and practice Buddhism, their first step would be to understand Buddhist concepts, and right after that, the second step should be practice the understanding of those concepts. In principle, one should learn and research into Buddhist texts only for practice. And for some people, they have a very good grasp of the Buddhist terminologies. They understand a lot of terms and concepts in the Buddhist theological framework, but they never put those understanding into actual practice. That is why they feel that Buddhism is unrelated to their life.
那他说他有打坐啊，那我以我40年啊，我看到打坐的人哈，大概3年就不见了，因为什么呢？因为打坐做，刚开始还不错哦，哇，妄念很多，那就用方法，到最后可能就是妄念少一点，比较安定而已。那你没有在持续，大概就这样子而已。尤其是我们打坐可以做到，比如说做到身体不见，外在不见，外在的世界不见，来自于开悟。那个要什么？要去等于是长期的禅修，这第一个啊。第二个，你在打坐的时候是因为你没有跟外在环境接触嘛，你嘴巴不讲话，身体不动，你只要处理你的妄念而已。平常就很复杂了哦，平常你又要做事，又要说话，又要思考。假设你平常也能够像打坐一样，哦，那个，还有第三个是做梦，哦，那这个部分如果说你在打坐，以打坐开始，后续哇，有你想象不到的境界，想象不到的境界。没有你在打坐的时候要处理妄念嘛，对不对？但因为你不用跟人家互动，但是下座以后，你又要跟什么？跟人互动，跟你又能够像打坐一样很安定。第三，你到做梦的时候，你根本就没有在打坐了啦，做梦是根本就连做梦都不晓得。
And speaking of meditation, practicing sitting meditation, Fashi with his 40-year 40-year sitting meditation experience, tells that a lot of people he knows gave up practicing meditation after no more than 3 years. So at first they found meditation to be really useful because they have at this stage many deluded thoughts, a very scattered mind. So they only have to use the method to be able to achieve a very substantial outcome. That is to say, their deluded thoughts reduced significantly by just using the method. But later on, because you can get into a really deep stages with meditation, you may feel your body has disappeared, your external environment has disappeared, and even to the stage of enlightenment. But those stages must be based on long-term practice of meditation. And there are also couple so when you are sitting there meditating, you are not consciously making contact with the external stimuli. You only have to you are only dealing with your deluded thoughts that is within you. And it may be very hard for you to keep that state of meditation in your regular life when you are thinking, interacting with other people, etc. And it is only it would be great if you can actually maintain that in your daily lives. Another challenge could be just to illustrate how difficult practicing sitting meditation actually is. When you are having dreams, for example, you are simply incapable of maintaining any meditative absorption.
建立一个，他说他好像没有被填满啊。从佛法来讲，你要先清楚，我没有被填满到底是什么？那是我吗？像这个，你假如就问，这个问题就不是问题了。我没有被填满，你可以告诉他什么叫做我啊？当你能够真正知道什么是我，而且可以什么体验真正的我是什么，大概刚才那个问题就没了啊。因为刚才说什么我没有被填满，很明显这是一个妄念。
And okay, and you said your friend feels that he's not filled by the Buddha Dharma he learned and practiced. In Buddhist terms, we would actually ask the question, who is the I that is not being filled by the practice of Buddhism, by Buddha Dharma? And the question you can ask is, what is I? What is this thing that we call I? And it is, and if you actually know and experience this I, this question, then the question that your friend raised would naturally dissolve, because that question of how come I am not being filled by Buddha Dharma is just another deluded thought. I think with that we can.
So yeah, just came natural to me, but like how to put the practice of the Buddhist practice in the day-to-day activities， 就是怎么样把就是佛法融入在生活中。对于就是 like relevant to this question。
1分钟了。你想要把佛法融入生活中，你就要去找这部分的资料。这份资料其实大概你去看书的书啊，大概可以得到一些 guide 啊，它可以讲的很多很多很多。你想要从这部分呢，你大概几个人呢？就是师父是专门讲怎么样 佛法用在生活当中，那你去看它了，然后你又会跑出很多的问题来啊。
So if you want to know how to practice the Buddha Dharma in our daily lives, then you may consult with the corresponding resources. There are books and guides out there bound explaining how we can practice Buddha Dharma in our daily life. And if you go to read those books, you may have more questions.
I just had one simple question for Shifu. How did you like the energy this past weekend in here?
He's getting a survey. 他问说你
他说是能量，就觉得 right 就或者是 vibe right。
这个 you're asking this week.
Like how did you like the essence of the retreat?
This group or retreat?
Yeah, in general.
Okay. Okay. Yeah，就是这个 vibe 是怎么办？就是个能量啊，对，磁场是好。
我先能量我没有太大的深度哦，但是我那个沿着知道，我们也有一些什么一些菩萨，他们专门在，对啊，那因为我对这我不去感觉啊。因为我讲这部分，我要讲另外一个故事给你们听啊。哦，这样不是啊，跟这个有关系的。对，不要讲太多哦。我们有一个菩萨，他是叫做气功师，这样就是讲能量的哈。那他在禅期啊，禅期，那他只要不好的能量，他就有办法，透过那一种气功，把不好的能量，就是什么弄掉，包括啊，这样啊放屁啊，把不好的能量弄掉哈。然后他弄掉以后，旁边的人就会涌过来。你自己的不好的气拿掉以后，旁边人的气就会什么，就会交流，涌过去。所以他7天都在排气。那我们那他是讲说师父的气最好，法师的气第二，居士的气第三哈。
师傅最好，就反正你就为什么会说这个故事呢？因为他的能量啊，哦，还没讲完哦。Okay, so alright, so you asked about how did Fashi perceive the energy of this retreat of our group, and Fashi said he doesn't really have a very in-depth perception of the energy, and he shares a story that he knows a bodhisattva who is a qigong master, and I'm sorry. Okay, and he is very sensitive to energy. So okay, we have to. I don't know. So before his retreat, he has attended some retreat, and before his retreat, he would use the qigong to disperse the bad energy within himself through like farting and belching, and that right to drive those bad qi out of his body. Purging? Like,
that's another word for that. I feel like that'd be vomit. Well, purging it could be a different like many things.
Whatever, just releasing the gas, right? The negative energy in his body. And whenever he does that, the people surrounding him the people would come and surround him. And he said the Shifu so Master Shengyan's energy is the best. Second to whom is Venerable monks, and second to and third is everybody else.
还有就是，我们对气啊，气本身是一个佛性的功能。那我们是好气、坏气我没有要排斥坏气，也没有要抓好气，但是我透过一直放，你的气会叫做 purify 啊，放，你没有要抓好气，没有要排斥坏气，甚至就是说什么，就是你坏气的话，我享受，那我好气我也不抓。那我们基本上因为气本身是你感知的，那能分辨能取的是心，所以我们重点是回到心本身。
So the chi energy is actually a function of our Buddha nature, and what I think what we should aim at is not is neither rejecting the bad chi nor have preference for the good chi. And if we maintain this attitude of either grasping the good nor rejecting the bad, our chi would actually become purified, because chi in itself is something to be perceived, and it is our mind um, that perceive the chi energy. So in essence, all returns to mind.
如果你追求好气啊，排除坏气啊，通常你看到坏气的人、不好的气的人，你会远离；那好气的人，你会想办法制造很多理由靠近他这时候不管你抓得到还是不排除得到，你永远是在 duality， 就是能手 duality 的，你永远是什么？就是有能跟手的，就是流转的。
So if you develop that tendency to reject the bad chi and welcome the good chi, then seeing the people with bad chi, you will turn away from them, and seeing good people with good chi, you are making excuses to get closer to them, and that is how you fall into the trap of duality.
Okay, if you have any more questions, we can wait till next year. We'll hope to invite Venerable again. He tends to travel towards the fall time like this. So save your time. We'll try to announce it as early as we can so you can make time and participate for him to confuse us again. But now I have some important announcement. The first, I need to ask you right here, for those who left, we probably have to send a letter or just send the survey again one more time. During the retreat, we took photographs and we took films. Most of the films are focused at the Venerable only, but during the chanting, everybody passed by the camera. So we are planning to put some of the photographs on our website and also publish the recordings on our website. So we're asking your copyright, everyone now, to let us know if anyone object to have their photographs or the filming to be published. If so, either you can raise your hand now or later come to me and say you don't want your photograph published, then we'll either Photoshop you out or do something. Okay. For those who left, I don't know what the legal involvement is, but there is this concern. So I also am asking the Venerable Guo-Xing Fashi if we may publish your lecture. Yes. Okay. And anybody here that objects to have your images published on the website? Okay, so that's the first important one. And so the participants here, actually, then by the time we publish on our website, anybody can go up there and listen to the recording if you are not clear. We will send out an email to let you know that the lectures are on the website. Mick is working on it to, we can actually stop the recording here, right? Just a second. Let me, can you stop the recording right here? What'd you say?